Hello, my friends. Welcome to another video where I'm going to show you how to take text-to-speech, give it a completely unique voice. And in this, we're going to be using a few different tools that are available to pretty much everybody. And this is my secret on how I make my little bot on my stream, Felix, work. And if you've been in my streams, you have seen Felix before and probably have gotten annoyed at what he says because he's kind of sarcastic.
Oh, absolutely. Being Foxy just screams, it's like a cosmic law or something. You're practically the poster child for it.
So, with that, let's get into kind of how all this is going to break down. And bear with me, I can't really stare into the screen because my eye condition's acting up. So there's a few tools that I use for this to make it work. The first thing I use is, of course, Voicemod. And Voicemod, if you haven't used it before, it is essentially that. It modifies your voice to sound like something different and gives your voice effects and different things to basically create content the way you want to. The next program we're going to use with this is Elgato's WaveLink. Now, WaveLink is the audio management that Elgato has released for their microphones, but it can be used by almost anything. And so with WaveLink, I can create a pathway to really work how I'm going to manage my mic as well as a mic for my bot. And then, of course, to control all this and make sure it works properly, I'm going to use my favorite tool, Streamer.bot. And Streamer.bot has the tools built in to basically make this happen to where you don't even have to code, which is a benefit for you. So first up, let's go ahead and start thinking about how you can create your own voice in Voicemod. So here in Voicemod, you have a lot of available options that are already made for you. However, you can always create your own voice. And you can even flip through community voices to find ones maybe that you would like to use. But to completely create your own, you're going to use Voicemod's Voice Lab in order to create the sound you want for your bot. So in here, I can go ahead and I can start playing with a few different things to see what I'm looking for. So here,
I can adjust the pitch as much as I want to,
and just kind of let it go all the way around and make it really whatever I want. Or if I want to do wow wow, I mean, everybody likes the wow wow. Can you even tell what I'm saying? Really, you can work with so many things that they have here. One of my favorites to work with is a flanger, and you can kind of adjust it the way you would want. And then if you needed to back it off and come down to where it's not as prominent, you just play with the mix. Now, of course, I already created a voice of my own, and, well, I made Felix. So when I turn on Felix, this is how he's going to sound.
He's gonna sound like this, and it sounds a little weird, but that's the way I wanted him to sound because he's just a floating glow ball, kind of shown here in, the picture. But this is essentially the sound of Felix, but if I was to give him my inflection.
So you can create a voice and make it work that way. So once you have that voice ready, the next phase is going to be, well, we need to make sure that we can split the mic somehow. And that is where WaveLink is going to come into play. Now, as you can see right here, I am currently have my microphone hooked up. It's the Elgato Wave XLR. And yes, I do like this mic. But then on this one that's auxiliary 2, this I'm actually bringing from Speaker.bot, which is a companion to Streamer.bot, is where I'm going to be getting my text-to-speech from. So if you haven't seen Speaker.bot before, it is on the Streamer.bot website. It is a completely separate app from Streamer.bot, but it functions in tandem with it. What makes this fantastic when it comes to Elgato's WaveLink is that you can select by program. And because we can select by program, we can make sure that our Speaker.bot goes through into the WaveLink as we would do with pretty much any other sound setup we would be using it for. So the reason why there isn't a lot in here on the WaveLink for me is because I typically do all my audio inside of OBS, and I like to do them as individual sources, and that's just, it's a preference for me, but it also grants me a lot more control over what I'm doing. So real quick, let's go ahead and look at the Speaker.bot part of this, so that way you can see how you can set this up very easily to handle what we need. I do recommend reading some of the Speaker.bot documentation so that way you know what's going on with this, but for all intents and purposes, if you go over to settings, what you're going to look for in this general tab is the audio output device, we're going to select the WaveLink AUX 2 or whatever you set it to in your WaveLink software. That is where you're going to point it to. So the reason we're going to go ahead and have this point straight to auxiliary 2 is that what we're trying to do is tell Speaker.bot that this is your microphone. This is where you get to direct all of your audio when you're going to speak. What we're doing is sending it straight to the WaveLink software and joining it into the stream mix. Then what we can do is then from the stream mix, we just point that as the voice mod. Now, one thing to mention when it comes to using Speaker.bot is that you do have to have a speech engine in order to make it work. Now, one of the ones I can go ahead and recommend is TTS Monster. So with TTS Monster, it is a text-to-speech engine that is available. A lot of voices will cost money, and it just kind of has to be able to financially support themselves. But one of the things that makes text-to-speech Monster much better to work with is this one little line that says right there, unlimited Brian text-to-speech messages. That line right there means that it does not cost you anything to run the voice Brian in text-to-speech Monster. And so because of that, I don't have to pay anything to run the text-to-speech, and because of Voicemod, and I have it, I can now have my voice be whatever I want it to be. Are you confused yet? Don't worry, I got you. Follow closely. Okay, so first up, we have this Speaker.bot. This is where our text-to-speech is coming from. We are setting it to the WaveLink AUX 2. So in WaveLink, it will come in here. Now, everything in here goes to your monitor, what you hear, and then the stream mix, what you're outputting to your OBS. And since we can output both your mic and your bot's mic to one thing, that's when we can go into Voicemod. And in the settings on Voicemod, we're going to choose WaveLink Stream. This is the mix of everything going to the stream and making it to where you can now share the microphone between you and your bot. If you're already using WaveLink to manage everything, your game audio, your music, whatever audio you have, and that's what you're using, then that's where you need to then get something like Voicemeter, where you have another program that's managing just this particular thing. It's important because you don't want anything outside of your mic and your bot's mic to be interfered with, because this is the only way you can ensure that you and your bot can use Voicemod together, not at the same time. Now, let's go ahead and make sure that everything's going to be flowing the way we want it to. We made sure that the WaveLink software is in here, and it is coming through with my mic. I'm talking and it is registering. In the WaveLink software, we see that my mic is responding. We can go ahead and turn this on just to make sure that our bot will be heard too. Then to test this, we can go to voice aliases and make sure that this is going to work the way we want it to.
This is a test message.
So it did say that. Now, if we change the voice mod to my bot.
This is a test message.
Okay, so you've got everything set up and ready to go with this, but now you need a way to make sure that when the bot is speaking and using Voicemod, you're not. The way I've achieved this is I've actually set up each mic as an individual source within OBS Studio. So I have my main mic that is coming through the WaveLink software. It then goes into the Voicemod, and then Voicemod is put on that individual mic. I have a second mic set up to where it's the same thing, except instead of grabbing the WaveLink stream and putting it into OBS, what I'm doing is I'm grabbing instead the mic in part of it. So I'm not even using the WaveLink software. I am now taking my mic and directing it straight into OBS Studio. And the reason why I'm doing this is because if you were to take the stream mix and put it into the second mic, you're going to get the exact same thing that the other mic's getting. You need a way to keep your voice clean while the bot takes over Voicemod. I like to make sure that things are separated and everything has a very dedicated name and way to it. So I gave my bot a mic of his own, which is basically a duplicate of my main mic, the one that goes through Voicemod. but I put it as his name. That way, when I'm looking in the mixer, I can tell his mic is active. My alternate mic that is not going through Voicemod is also active. Or if neither one of those are active, then it should be my main mic that is active. So it should be either I'm the one using Voicemod, or it's the bot's using Voicemod and I'm using a completely separate input from Voicemod for my mic. And again, that part is literally just so that way I can make sure that everything's functioning the way it's supposed to, because I don't listen to myself when I stream because I have a tendency to get lost. The delay is too much for me. If my voice is not in sync, I can't think straight. So once you have in OBS Studio this mic setup where you have your two different versions of your mic, and then the bot being able to go through the stream mix and have its own mic using Voicemod, then what we need to do is build up everything to make this happen smoothly. And that's where I'll show you what I did with Streamer.bot. So in Streamer.bot, what I have is I have my alt main mic becoming visible, as well as my bot's mic becoming visible. These are the two mics that I need to make sure are happening. Felix's mic is the one that is going through the Voicemod, and the alt main mic, that is my microphone, but not going through Voicemod, just going straight to OBS. Then the one here that's saying the quadcast mic, that is actually my main mic setup, where it is my Elgato WaveDX going straight into Voicemod, and my normal setup of how I would make sure my stream's going without the bot. So once I've done that, I add in a delay, and this is just to give some time for everything to seem like there was nothing happening, and that mic change becomes almost instantaneous. Next, we go ahead and set the Elgato WaveLink input on my stream mix. So what I'm doing is on this one, with this action right here, it takes my volume all the way down. Next, it's going to go to the Voicemod and select my bot's sound, which is right here. Then I have something to make him pop on the screen and talk. But once I've got all this, then we come and we have this Speaker.bot Speak UDP. Essentially what that is saying, all right, Speaker.bot, it's your turn to take whatever text I have here that I've received, that I'm using, it's your turn to speak it. So then what we've got now is Speaker.bot getting the speech engine from text to speech monster. Then it is taking it and putting it into the WaveLink, and WaveLink goes, yes, you need to go into the Voicemod. Now the Voicemod's picking it up and going, okay, now we change the way this sounds, and then Voicemod shoots it into OBS Studio. Now we have the Brian voice, but with our own twist to it, however we want. And with all that firing off the way it's supposed to, then you still have your alternate mic where you can talk normally and continue to keep doing what you're doing, and your bot still has its voice. Then after that, I just do a few things to make him move around the screen and make sure he leaves. Now, once I have done the amount of time which I have set almost 20 seconds for, sometimes you'll have to adjust this just to get what you would normally want, then you would just go ahead and set your Voicemod back to a clean state, the normal, not altered portion. You're going to go ahead and mute the bot voice, return your normal mic setup to what it's supposed to be in the WaveLink. Then you turn off the alternate mic and you unhide or unmute your normal mic. And then it's all done. So this process is a little deep, but what you get is taking a generic text-to-speech sound of Brian, and you're completely altering him into a new character. And this way you now have the ability to take this character and bring life into it. And what I have done is I've used Mustache Maniac's ChatGPT integration, which if you haven't been following Mustache Maniac, you need to, because the dude is hilarious, as well as making amazing things for creators on Streamer.bot. But I've used his ChatGPT as the way that my bot can then interact with people, not just with text messages, but giving it to the Speaker.bot, then having Speaker.bot do everything it needs to into the Voicemod, and then having this whole setup create this character, and the only thing I had to pay was buying Voicemod. So that's the setup. A little complex, but in the end, totally worth it. Now, I won't be able to make any videos for a little while because I am going to be moving. And because of that, well, I mean, movers are going to have my PC and all my equipment, and I have to wait for it to show up at the next house and then get it set up. So, in the meantime, make sure that you are following the channel so that way you can keep up with all the things that are going to be coming when I get back, because with all the time I have available, I'm going to be coming up with ideas. So with that, my friends, I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to keep packing my house, and I hope you guys create something really, really amazing with this setup for your own streams. Have a good one.